English Ever After presents The Prism. The other day I stumbled across a fantastic quote, and I love it because it encapsulates my philosophy of English learning, and actually all other kinds of learning as well. Here's the quote. I will not learn about fire by thinking about fire, but by burning. I created the community of English Ever After with a conviction that the only way to get better at English is to actually use it in our lives in the ways that truly matter to us as individuals. What we need isn't just more material about English. No. We're sick of being on the outside, looking at this whole other world through the glass, as if we're destined to be outsiders forever. We want to be in that world and make it our own. We want to breathe and live the language. As Alice Munro once wrote, how can you get your finger on it? Feel that life beating. I'm always thinking about how we can remove the distance between ourselves and our knowledge. I want to find a way to help everyone else feel the pulse of English as a living language and not just the stagnant assortment of locked up facts and rules. This prism that you see here captures what we need to do in order to bring English to life and into our lives. First, as always, we begin with the building blocks. These are the fundamental elements of any language. Words, rules, sounds, and eventually, experience. Most English learners get stuck in an endless pursuit of more information on the first three elements. They're absolutely obsessed with words, rules, and sounds. This in itself isn't bad. What's damaging is the way they take these building blocks out of context. Some are convinced that if they don't have a bigger vocabulary, they can't do anything. Others spend countless hours on memorizing details of grammar and completing one exercise after another, hoping that one day they would somehow magically be able to translate these abilities into real-life skills. There are still others who focus solely on perfecting their pronunciation or listening skills, without realizing that the actual world presents an abundance of variations in accents, quirks, and mistakes, and that the mere fact of setting a sound among different sounds can color it in a different way. Simply put, this tunnel-visioned pursuit of perfection on paper or in classrooms often fails because it doesn't take into account the complexity of life. The narrowness of such training chips away at our resilience, making us increasingly ill-prepared for the kaleidoscope of a world that we live in, and increasingly fragile. My friends, the words, rules, and sounds are certainly important. They are, after all, the building blocks we need to make anything else happen. But instead of getting lost in these three dimensions, remember that the world as we know it is so much more than the atoms and the molecules that piece it together. As Aristotle once wisely observed, the whole is much greater than the sum of its parts. Let us not lose sight of what's important. Words, rules, and sounds are not the prizes you seek. We can actually do a lot, even if we only have the most basic knowledge of those three. Remember, all roads lead to Rome. There are many ways we can put together the parts that we have to express ourselves. What we need more of is experience. With experience, you'll learn to build many more variations with the words, rules, and sounds that you know. These are not disposable blocks that you can only use one at a time. You can combine them to form more possibilities, and it should certainly be your aim to figure out where all those possibilities fit in your life. Our ultimate goal is creation. We want to use those building blocks you have to create something beautiful. A conversation, an interview, a presentation, a note, an article, an essay, even a glass bead game. Your imagination is the limit. And in order to take the words, rules, sounds, and experience you have to that next level, you need to master a few more dimensions along the way. Mindset. Mindset is how we think. Believe it or not, most of the struggling English learners I know are crippled or even paralyzed by their own mindset. They experience hardship and pain, and they believe that the root of their problem is in all the other dimensions but this one. It is precisely because they cannot recognize the fact that they are trapped by their own unhealthy thinking that they continue to struggle as always. This may all sound a bit mythical to you, but trust me, what I'm telling you is entirely based on years of experience. To make your breakthrough, you must cultivate what Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset rather than the fixed mindset. When you have the former instead of the latter, you believe that you can change, that you are capable of developing new skills and mastering them, that you are not confined to whatever qualities or talents you are born with. You have the potential for so much more. And in order to become all that you can be, you need to have grit, which is the determination and perseverance to stay, even when things get difficult, or should I say, especially when things get difficult. You recognize that the only way out to the other end is to go through the process. The trick isn't to make the work somehow go away. The trick is to fall so much in love with the work that it ceases to be painful to you. Mastering English is our privilege, not our burden. In the meantime, it's also important that you cultivate a vision for your effort. What are you trying to achieve? What would you like to do with your English? Finally, we need to embrace the mindset of abundance by supporting one another in our effort to excel. And we stand by the belief that by lifting others, we lift ourselves up too. When we see that others do well, that isn't a sign of our failures. On the contrary, their progress can be inspiring to us and illuminate the path for us, as we so often witness and experience in our community. Productivity. Productivity deals with the way we approach our learning. It refers to our ability to make the most effective use of our time. While we do not seek shortcuts, we do seek smarter ways of learning and doing things in general. We want to use the most suitable tools to achieve our goals of creating something beautiful. These tools can include anything from our method of learning to the software we use in our daily lives. Substance. Substance is the content of our thought and expression. It's the fuel of our communication. When people get stressed out by their inability to communicate with others in English, they're usually convinced that they don't know enough about words, rules, or sounds. In many cases, their issue doesn't have much to do with those building blocks. Their issue is that they simply don't have ideas or the ability to appreciate and analyze a situation at a deeper level. When there's nothing to deliver, the method of delivery doesn't matter. By constantly expanding our horizons, strengthening our analytic skills, and nurturing our creativity, we can learn to better leverage our building blocks in the attempt to create something significant. Style. Style, on the other hand, is all about the aesthetics, how beautifully we use our language. Once we have enough material, the next stage is to explore the various ways of using the building blocks to shape that content into the most beautiful and effective forms possible. Our style is our unique way of conveying what we mean. It is a study of elegance, and it may include how efficient we are at delivering messages, how powerful those messages are, and how persuasive they can be to others. In order to develop great style, we have to learn to observe and appreciate other styles. Above all, we must be flexible. People are often trained to treat the process of creation as if it's a fill-in-a-blank exercise. When one thing doesn't work, they try to plug in another replacement, failing to realize that the whole world is a canvas. We can literally do anything we want, and ours is the freedom to try different words, different sentences, and even different approaches entirely. Style is born from the exploration of nuance, of subtle differences coupled with vivid imagination. As we develop a positive mindset, productive habits, a wealth of material, and beautiful style, we can begin to turn our building blocks into all sorts of creation. This prison of English mastery isn't a hierarchy or a journey with a finite destination. Ideally, we should work on multiple, if not all, the dimensions at the same time. And I'm going to break it to you now. There will always be room for improvement. Even after we finish a creation, we should go around to work on the other dimensions as we prepare for another and yet another creation. I've chosen this shape to represent our vision in English Ever After, not only because the many facets reflect our multi-dimensional approach, but also because the shape itself creates a rainbow of colors when you shed light on it. This is my hope for you, that in following our paradigm, you'll begin to use English in its full color.